Hello class. In this video we'll be creating this side menu that slides from the left once you hover over this arrow icon right here. And the idea is to have the navigation links here instead of a navbar at the top. This approach is specifically better on mobile devices as it saves that extra screen space at the top that would otherwise be occupied by a navbar that you would most of the time not click. Plus it's got this snazzy smooth animation and it looks good, so why wouldn't you? We'll be using just HTML and CSS and a tiny bit of JavaScript without any frameworks or libraries. Alright, let's actually jump to the code. I just want to mention quickly, I'll be using Live Server, which is a command line tool to serve static files and have them on hot reload, so each time I save it reloads automatically. You can install it using npm, or you can skip this step and actually just click the index HTML file, and each time you make changes you just reload. And one static asset, the only one that I'll be using, is this right arrow function, right arrow button here, icon, from this free icon website. You can download the SVG. I've already done that. I'll put the link in description for this icon. So the SVG is right here. So let's actually create our project. So here I'll create a folder. So new folder. I'll call this side menu. And here I'll open it using VS Code. Close this. I'll create a couple of files. So the index.html. I'll create an index CSS. I'll create a script JS. We're not gonna write a lot of JavaScript, but we need some. And I'll bring the icon in. So where is it? I'll just drag and drop it here, and there we go. All right. So in the index.html, I'll say doc tab. Let me make the code bigger. All right. So here I'll say the title will be side menu tutorial. And here I'll link that script. So I'll say script like this, oops. And here I'll say defer. So it waits for the whole DOM elements to load, and then it loads the script. So it doesn't block the DOM. And I'll say source, and I'll just link the script.js. And here I'll link the CSS as well. So say link style sheet, and this will be the index.css. All right, so here in the body, I'm gonna start with the actual content that's on the right. So here I'll create a div. So I'll say hash to give it an ID of main, and we'll use this ID later. And inside of here I'll have a header one saying side menu tutorial. And here I'll put some paragraph and just say lorem tab, just to have some text. Let me make this wrap. Let's save. Let's open the terminal and say live server. I believe live server is built in to VS Code now, so you can just right click. Oh no, I think you need to install the extension. So, or you can just double click your index.html, but I suggest using live server, it's useful. So okay, we just get our title and we get the text. Let's start to write the markup for the side menu itself. So I'll close this terminal window. And here at the top of the body tag, I'll say div hash. So to give it an ID, side menu, like this, camel cased. And I'll give it as well a class. So dot side menu, and I'll tab. And by the way, this is Emmet, what I'm doing, and it's already built in VS Code, I believe. So you can just follow along. Here I'll have a UL. And inside of here I'll have, you can put as many as you want, but I'll put 3 LIs. Of course, these are not actual pages, but in a real application you'll have pages. I'll put a link here with the href of hash. It's not going to go anywhere. And this will say home. Actually, I'm going to copy this and just paste it 2 more times. And this will say about. And this will say services. And now I need to style this, because otherwise it's just going to be a normal UL. All right, so let's go to the index CSS, and here we'll say dot side menu for that class. And I'm going to give it a height of 100% and a width of 250 pixels. And I'll give it a position of, position of fixed. because later if we want to have more content and there is more content that's larger than the view height and we want to scroll, I want this to be stationary and not actually scroll. So here I'll give it a top of 0 and a left of 0 to have it fixed on, so to have the start point of it on the top left point. Here I'll give it a background color, and I'll copy this from off screen right here. It's just a linear gradient with two cool colors, like an orange and a slightly yellowish color. So yeah, this is it for the side menu. Now let's save, let's look at it. So alright, so this is our menu right now, but obviously it's not, right now our body is right behind it, and we will fix that. We actually, let me target this, so let's say inspect. So this UL, we need to remove the list styling item, and we see it's by default, it's got this 40 padding on the left. We want to override that as well. So let's go to our index CSS. Here we'll say dot side menu UL like this. That means the UL that's underneath an element with a class of side menu. So you can hover over the CSS rule and it will show you the scenario that you have. So here we'll say list style none. So this will remove that thing, that square, that's a circle, that black circle. And here we'll say padding 0 to remove that padding on the left, to remove all padding for that matter. And here I'll give it some margin top as well, because it's too close to the top. Let's say 40 pixels. And here I'll give it some margin left of, say, 20 pixels, because I don't want it to be like right here on the wall right here. Actually, let's give it some more margin left and top as well. So let's say 45 here, 45 pixels, not 45. And here instead of 20, let's give it 40. See what this looks like. Okay, let's give it 45 as well on the bottom. Alright, it looks better now. Of course, we'll make these links, the text of the link bigger, so let's do that now actually. So side menu, anchor tag, because it's inside the link. And here, let's remove that underline of the link because that's so 1995. So let's say text decoration, none, to remove that underline. And let's give it some margin bottom, so there's some space between them. Let's give it 30 pixels. And let's give it some bigger font size. So font size, I'll use rem here, say 1.8 rem. And let's give it some color because it shouldn't be blue. I want it to be white. So let's give it white. And we need to give it display block for the margin to apply. And yeah, that's it. Alright, so it looks better now. This would be an appropriate time for me to bring the font that I want to use, Titillium Web, which is a font that I'm really liking recently. So I'll put this link in the description as well from Google Fonts. And here when you select it, you go here and you grab this link tag. And by the way, if you're using Sass, you can as well use the import like this. But I'm using just CSS now. So I'll just grab this. Let's go to our index.html. Let's put it here at the top. And let's go back to our CSS. And we want to give this font to any text on our page. So we'll say star. And here we'll say font family. Oops. Family. Here we'll say Titillium Web. And sans serif here in case it doesn't load properly. Alright, let's save. Let's go back to our app. And there we go, we get that font applied here and here for the title, even though we don't see it, and here as well. Alright, let's go back to our CSS. Let's finish styling this side menu before the animation bit. What I want to do, I want to give these links, when I hover them, I want to give them some color. And actually, let's put, because this is a demo, let's just give this, so this, maybe let's just give, oh yeah, since this is the home page, it makes sense. So let's give this the active class now. I want to give it this green color, which I'll grab from the side. So here we'll say .active. So if we have an active link, it will have a color of this green value. You can type this, or you can just say, you can give it another color. You don't have to follow along with exactly the same color. And of course I want, when I hover these links there, to change to the same color. So I'll say dot side menu. Actually, it would be more appropriate to do it here. So I'll just copy this and say that link, colon hover. So here we'll say this, we'll give it the same color. So let's copy from here and just paste it here. And let's save all files, remember, because we changed this as well. So let's go back. All right, it does. All right, this should be active. So it should already be green. But okay, we see when we hover, it becomes green. But it becomes green too fast. So I'm going to give it some transition duration. So here, I'll say transition. And I'll just give it 0.1 seconds and let it apply on all changes. So you could be more specific and say color 0.1. I'll leave it, yeah, like that. So it seems like it doesn't apply. Okay, I'll just give it to all of them. All right, so now it doesn't just blink to green. It kind of slightly fades in, which is, I think, better. All right, so for some reason the active class is not being applied. So let's be more specific and just say this link, because otherwise I think it's being overridden by this, because this rule is more specific. So we'll just say dot side menu dot anchor tag dot active, and let's reload this. Oh, my bad, because I gave the class to the li instead of giving it to the link here. So let's save. All right, now it's green. Okay, so let's make this this body actually slide right as well. So what we want to do, we want to go to our script. So here we'll create two functions. So the first one will be function open menu, and here we'll do something, and the other one will be the close menu. So function close menu. And here what we want to do, we want to get our two elements, which are the side menu and the main content div. And here on the open, we want to slide the menu to the right, and slide the content as well to the right, and on the close, slide both of them to the left. All right, so here on the open, we want to get our menu. So we'll say document.get element by ID. And remember, our menu has the ID side menu. So let's get that. Paste it here, and here want to give it a margin left of 0. So I'll say it's .style.margin left, and we'll give it the value of 0. Because what we want to do, we want to initially set it to have a margin of minus its width. So let me demonstrate that. So if I inspect this, so this entire side menu, its width is 250. So if I go to now, give it a margin left of minus 250 pixels, it will actually be still here, but it will be hidden away. And I'll demonstrate it to you by giving it 240. So you see it starts to come out, and then when it reaches to 0, it actually comes out all of it. So this is our setup. This is how we slide the menu, by just changing the value of the margin left. Now let's change the value of the margin left of the main div as well. So here we can just copy this, and here we'll say get element by ID, which is now we get the main div, and now we give this a margin of 250 because we want to push this further to the right. And here I want to as well dim the color of our main div here. I want to make it a bit dimmer so the focus is on the menu. So here we'll say, okay, let's go to our script, and here we'll say document. Actually, we'll target the body instead of just the main, because the problem with the main is that I'll select and show you, inspect, and here the main actually takes up as much space as the content that's inside of it. So instead, we can target the entire body and give it make it dimmer. So here we'll say document.body.style.background color equals, and we'll give it some gray. So let's say RGB. Actually, I'm just gonna give it like black with some opacity. because if we give it a color, it will be too dim. So here we'll say RGBA 000 for black, and here the opacity, the alpha value, will be 0.4. All right, let's save. And now we do the opposite here. So let's copy all this stuff from here. And here we'll say, so the side menu, we want to give it -250, like we did earlier. And the main div, we want to give it 0, so it's back to the normal, its normal place. And the background color should go back to white. So here we'll say #FFF, which is just white. All right, let's save. And we want to have stuff that triggers these functions because they're not going to do anything on their own. So let's go to the index.html. And now it's time to implement our arrow button. So right here before the main, we want to put an image, and the source of this will be the arrow.svg that we just brought in, that you downloaded from that link. And the alt will just say right arrow, and we'll put a couple of more stuff here. Give it a class so I can style it. I'll say expand arrow, and here we need to give it something that triggers the function, and this will be the hover event. So this will be the on mouse over event, which will be triggered once your mouse is hovered over it, and this will trigger the open menu function. So let's save and let's see if this works. So let's go to our app. Okay, so the problem is like we haven't changed the margin for this. So let's go to the index CSS. Let's go up, and our side menu by default should have a margin left. So margin left, and so it starts at -250. And let's save that. Let's go to our app. Cool, we get our button, and now if we hover, it comes out. And of course it doesn't go away when we go away, but it comes out too quickly. Let's give it some transition period. So here we'll say transition. Let's give it half a second. Yeah, I think I give it half a second. All right, so let's reload. All right, cool. So if we hover at the button, it comes out slowly, but the problem is the body doesn't go as well slowly, so the animations are not synced. So let's fix that. Let's go to our index.html, CSS. Let's give our main, our main div that transition duration. So we'll go here at the bottom. Let's say #main to target the ID. And if you actually, the better practice, you don't target CSS with IDs. So let's give it a class as well. So class main as well. And we'll say .main. And here, so what do we need to give it? Yeah, the transition. So transition, not transform. Transition, and let's give it the same duration so they're synced together. So half a second, and let's save all files. Let's look here, and there we go. So it moves smoothly with the button. Once we hover the button, they both move together. Let's give this some padding on the left because the text is too close to the left, and some padding to the top as well. And we want to make this button as well be in the middle. So let's go to our CSS, and here I'll say padding top. Let's give it 20 pixels, and padding left of 50 pixels. And let's target that button now. So let's say dot expand arrow, and here we need to give it some transition duration as well, because I want to move the button. So let's give it some transition duration. So let's say 0.5 seconds, and let's give it a position of fixed so that when we scroll it doesn't move. And let's give it a bottom of 50%, so it takes the position at the middle of the screen. So let's look at our, all right, cool. So we get the button, but the button now, when we hover, it appears on top of the menu. So we can fix this by changing the Z index of the menu itself. So let's go to the menu. So side menu right here. We just need to give a Z index value that's higher than 0. So let's just give 1. Let's save. Let's go to our app. Let's reload. All right, so we get the button. and when we click, when we hover rather, we get the menu, and the menu is on top of the button. Yeah, okay. And this matters if you want to keep the button on the left so that it goes over it. But what I want to do is I want the button to move as well, so it looks like it's part of the page. So let's go here. Well, actually, we need to go to the JavaScript because this is where we want to give it the class. The margin attribute or CSS style. And let's give it an ID so we can find it in the JavaScript. So let's say ID equals, let's give it expand arrow like this. Let's go to the script.js, and here we'll say document.getElementById expand arrow dot style dot margin left, and we want to give it the same value, actually 250, not minus 250. And here let's copy the entire thing, and here we set it back, oops, not this as well, we set it back to 0. Alright, let's save all files and look at our arrow. Cool, it's moving as well now. This is a bit too dark. Let's change that value. Let's just say 0.3 on the alpha value. Alright, cool, now it's better. Let's make it go dimmer slowly, or slower, like as a fade. So we can just target the body, because that's where we're changing the color from in the CSS. In the JavaScript, we're targeting the body. So here we can say body and say transition. We can be specific and say background color, and the transition of that will as well be over half a second. Let's save and let's reload. Yeah, so you see now the color changes gradually and not at once. Alright, let's make it so that when we hover away, this menu goes back on its own. So here we can simply go to the side menu. So here we will attach an event to it, which will be the onMouseLeave. So onMouseLeave equals close menu. Simple as that. Let's go back here, and if we hover, so whenever our mouse is already inside, whenever the mouse leaves, it closes on its own. So if it goes there, it opens the menu, we can select any of these pages, go there, and if we decide to go back, we just hover away and it closes on its own. Alright, it seems that it would be working perfectly, but there's an edge case on mobile. So if I do inspect and I click on mobile, let me make this width a bit smaller, say 400. Actually, no, that's the height. Let's say 600. Alright, so here if I click, the problem on a mobile is there is no hover because there is no mouse. So for me to go back here, I would need to click here and then click here again. So let's make it so that when I click on this button and I just click here once without having to click on the menu, it actually goes back here. So the menu closes. So let's go to our index, and we can simply go to our, where is it? Our main right here, and attach an onClick event. So onClick, and onClick, we just close the menu. So close menu like this. Let's save, and we go back to our app, reload just in case. So if I click here without having to click at all in the menu, and I click back, it closes the menu on a mobile screen. Alright, so this is it for this video. I hope you learned something from it. Like if you liked it, subscribe and hit the bell button if you enjoy this type of content, and let me know in the comment section if you enjoy this type of video where we implement stuff with just HTML, CSS and JavaScript without frameworks. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.